guys, I'm here at London Wine Competition in London Live. I'm here with Angelo. He's the beverage director, one of the leading beverage directors in London, and we're really going to talk about how to develop profitable beverage programs. So Angelo, why don't you please introduce yourself, what you do to our audience?
Yeah, of course. So again, my name is Angelo Altobelli. I've been in UK for about 12 years now, and I've been working in the hospitality industry ever since I came to UK. Of course, currently I'm working as you mentioned, beverage director for the Dinings SW3, and then I also run my own business, which is called AA Somm, which of course I'm the director and owner as well. For me, in terms of a profitable good beverage program, you need to have a good selection of wine and of course the whole beverage itself. That's very, very important.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you need to offer great value of and for guests, of course, when they see that, then they think, okay, this is quite good, and the profit will come itself, because of course when you offer great product, of course guests, people will buy more, and they also quite for them is also fun.
Yeah.
to drink.
Are there any industry standards which you have to sort of aim at? For example, it has to be 25% have to be beverage sales versus 75% food. Are there any benchmarks in the industry?
Well, I would say so. For me, for my idea, a good beverage program, of course people go to a restaurant because of food, so food should, ideally should be the highest. Mm-hmm. But for me, when you have a beverage program that goes 40%, 40
of the bill, huh?
Yeah, of the bill, that would be,
wow.
That's a good, that's,
so that means you have a great beverage concept going on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And what about, let's say, 40%, we want to be good, obviously.
Yeah.
How do you go from 25 to 40? What are the things that you would advise, in looking back and then going again?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you need to have a great team that can support you,
okay.
a great team, and also you need to train, the team properly as well. Mm-hmm. And also having, beverage that you don't really find much around. Okay. Let's say, if you go, if you come to restaurant where I work, for me, I want to give you something that you'd be like, that gives you the wow factor. So you look at it like, oh, I've never had this before, so that's what I think makes it more fun for, for the guests, and that's what makes it, okay, so what, Angelo, I had this wine last time, let's try something else new, and I trust you.
You based on your experience, have you noticed that that those kind of things, maybe you're losing customers sometimes because they just don't know, or you think it's better, in fact, that they ask and then you're able to sell better?
I think it's, losing customer, no, I wouldn't say.
But
so.
They normally ask. They're not shy. If they don't know, they'll just ask, hey, I don't know.
Yeah,
okay.
They would. Most of the time, they would ask, sorry, what is this one? What is this one like?
I understand.
And I'm also very, very flexible in that way. Most of the time, I don't mind to open a bottle, just let you taste it. I'll say this in a fun way to guess. I'll tell them, if you don't drink, if you don't like it, I'll drink it myself at the end of the shift, so you won't go to waste. It makes it a bit more fun.
Yeah, you're giving them the assurance, right? In that way.
Yeah. In that way, and they also make, I also make them feel comfortable.
Super.
In a way. Okay, Angelo, I know you let me taste this one, but I don't really like it. Can we try something else? Sure, it's part of the experience. So
I'm very curious about breaking down those percentages. So of that, what usually you expect coffee to be, tea to be, for example. You don't have to go super dynamic, but I would be interested to know, okay, wine should be 50%, and then spirits maybe 25%, and then coffee, tea should be another 25%. Is there again those kind of metrics which you should think that's good?
Yeah, I would say probably wine. I think spirits should be around 30%. I want to do, because a good, for me, you start with, you can start with a spirit like a gin and tonic or something like that, and then you should finish with a nice digestive as well. That's also, it's a good end of the meal combined with the coffee. So that's why I would go more 60 wine, having.
So a grand slam is spirit, wine with the food, and coffee with the dessert.
Yeah, and also digestive to finish as well.
What is that, like a port wine?
Yeah, no, like
liqueur.
Liqueur, like a nice whiskey, some great Japanese whiskey, or a cognac, an armagnac, or even sometimes, very underestimated Spanish vermouth as well. They're very versatile.
So just 2 seconds for me to understand. Yes, so once after the meal, you offer them this sort of spirits. It's not like you're trying to rush them out, or
no.
So how do you offer them? How do you say, any digestive spirits? Excuse my vocabulary, but how do you exactly sell that category
Yeah.
after the meal.
Of course, I mean, when guests, of course, they receive the, the petit four, with the meal, little chocolate to finish with. I usually go there and approach them. So, you're having a little chocolate to finish with. As you had a nice wine or a nice sake, would you like perhaps a nice glass of whiskey to go with your digestive, with your chocolate at the end, or perhaps a nice barrel-aged cocktails as well. These are the kind of things, I guess, like, what. Actually, I would finish with something a little bit, that matches the flavor, like something a bit whiskey or a nice barrel-aged cocktail to finish with. And it can also help to digest a little bit more as well towards the end of the meal.
Fantastic. Back to the beverage program. What is a good beverage program to you? What does a good menu look like to you?
A good menu it should have the right percentage of new wine. Okay, so something that a bit obscure, something perhaps produced in the middle of nowhere, so like a smaller production wine, and also of course you need to have a couple of very known name, something that's already out there. But for me, should be a good one, good beverage program should have the majority should be more unknown, obscure wine from obscure region and stuff like that. Because for me, if you go to a restaurant, you want to give something that they haven't seen it before. So that's what makes them. That's part of the experience. And
how do you drive profitably? Like, do you make sure that you tell the suppliers that if you're selling in other restaurants, close by especially, I really don't want it, because then you can control more profit? Or what are the other, some sort of elements which can help you drive more profit?
Yeah. Help me drive more profit in terms of, what I ask from the supplier, of course.
Okay.
It's always training for my team. If there is a new supplier, if there is let's say a winemaker in town, I want the winemaker to meet my team. Okay. Because who's better than the winemaker itself to explain it to my team and transmit the knowledge, to bring the love of the passion of the product, the knowledge, and then my team, of course, we can all transmit that to the guest as well, and just gives a bit of experience. I think.
Do you like normally tell if a winemaker is doing a briefing to your team? Do you tell great Mr. Winemaker, but also give me a two-liner on how to just say this to a consumer, or do you yourself, then your team just designs a good easy pitch to a consumer?
Yeah, well, I mean, we just we see how like we're very flexible with that. We don't really have like a standardized. It all depends of who.
You can be talkative. You can just tell the whole story as well, or you can be depending on the consumer as well. I guess
you can tell like one of the best things for me, like even sometime wines they have cats and dogs in the vineyard. That's already something that that's.
What's been a good story? Do you remember any great thing which you absolutely, after saying, you knew that it's because of your execution, your service, it happened?
Yeah, probably would be for an English winery, for example. There's a very small winery, and they have a very small team. The winemaker is one of the youngest winemaker in UK, so that's that already it's it sells itself, and also because they produce amazing product, and they have a team of 5 people and 5 dogs as well in the vineyard. It's also quite nice in a way, and when you explain this way to the guests, they you already made they trust you what you're giving them, because I know the winemaker person, I know the winery as well. That's
let's go on the other elements, like placing the menu, the size of the menu, the pages of the menu. Would love to know, like bar decor, restaurant decor. What kind of other factors you think, and how can they help in growing your beverage sales?
Yeah. Well, placing the menu in terms of course name has to be in terms of the bar, cocktail list, so the name has to be also quite interesting in a way. Okay. Also perhaps something that twists the classics a little bit as well. So that is definitely that would definitely improve it. And as well in terms of size, of course I would just put a normal size, and it has to be
what is a normal size?
read.
6 page, 4 page?
Yeah, I would say for good cocktail, I would say 6 to 8 pages.
Just the cocktails, or are you talking about the entire menu?
No, just cocktail and spirits. Wine should be about 20-25 pages at least.
Wow.
For me personally, of course. Wow. Between wine and sake, of course, it has to be a good selection.
And where does the coffee go? That's another menu, coffee, tea?
Coffee.
So 3 beverage menus you normally have.
Yeah.
And there's food 4.
Yeah.
And as you change the timings, you just replace the menus and so you move on? Okay.
and then of course you introduce first the food menu, the wine list, and the drink list as they sit down. Okay, it's nice to have the cocktail list divided by the wine list. I personally think it's nice to have it that way, because especially if you have a bar separate from the restaurant as well. So and then at the end, after they finish, after the order, after they finish the savory part, then you just introduce the desserts, the desserts menu. With that you go back, with the list, the bar list with all the spirit selection, and there are of course coffees and sweet wines on the.
So if you had to train your new hire, what kind of 3 or 4 things you would say, this is how you introduce, this is how you're going to ask for an order, and let's say this is how you're going to ask for the second glass. Any tips there, please?
Yes, I mean, it's first of all understand what the guest is having. So just don't go there and say, okay,
So what is a good way? Like, how do you ask them? What is the first line that should come out if you're let's say? Like, how do you introduce yourself?
Well, first of all, my name is Angelo, and I'm going to be looking after you tonight. Is there, how shall we, is there any wine that you would like to drink? Is there any beverage that you would like to start with? Okay, a little aperitif, or perhaps you want to skip the aperitif and go directly into the wine. Okay, so we choose a glass of wine, or perhaps a bottle, or even a sake, of course, for where I work, of course. So this will be probably, and then here you see the guest, they're like, oh yes, maybe we start with this, we start with that.
Right. And within how much time do you expect that beverage should come on the table? Do you have any metrics there?
Yeah, I would say a beverage should not take, depends of course. A wine, it should not take more than 5 minutes. It shouldn't, because you want to keep that,
And then at what time do you normally go asking them, are you doing okay for a repeat glass? Usually wait for 70% done?
Yeah, more like when it's the last 20%. When it's last 20% into the glass, whether it's by the glass, by the bottle, even the bottle. Perhaps when I top up the last drop of bottle, then I go back to the host and I say, so just to let you know, I finished the bottle of wine. Would you like perhaps consider having another one, or perhaps we switch to something else, without being too.
So I like those questions. You want to switch, or you want another one? Just approaching the consumer, like I'm sure you have solid experience that you would. Do you even see that when you place a drink and then consumers having their first sip, do you really are still curious that are they satisfied? Because obviously cocktail especially, right? You don't know what's coming sometimes.
Yeah.
So how do you read them? Like or if someone's like to their partner, they look at it. I don't like. Do you do anything about it?
Yeah, of course. I always say, is there anything is everything okay with your drink? Do you like it, or perhaps would you like something else? We are, we are very flexible.
Where I was going with is, what are the other reading languages which you tell people?
Yes. Well, perhaps when you drink it, and then it's like. They see perhaps a little bit, or maybe they look at it. They look at it when they drink, especially, and then they look at it a little bit like this. So in that way, you see that the guest is. I need to understand this better. So what is going on in this drink? Do I like it? Or at least for my experience, they look at the drinks and be okay. So okay. Even sometimes when they say interesting, I usually ask them, is it interesting in a good way or in a bad way?
That's a good question. Yeah. Any closing remarks, Angela, for people trying to develop the beverage program on how they can, where they can learn from, even or how they can start, and sort of on the floor execution, any other ground rules that you would want to just tell them as a tips?
As a tip, be always prepared to be flexible, especially in hospitality. You need to be flexible. You can't. Of course, you need to have a standard. You need to have a standard, but most of the time, hospitality is you cannot predict. You cannot predict it. So you need to go with the flow. Just be flexible, and always remember that the guest experience is what comes first.